Experience!
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience presented by Underdog, the Week 6 DraftKings picks, preview, lineup building, some ownership, some pivots, the best way you can construct your lineups. Tambo from Ship It Nation on the line from 4for4.com. We got John Breslin. Fellas, how was your week number 5? Was it profitable? Because mine was, thanks to you guys. So no.
Justin Fields was so frustrating because I was way under the field on Justin Fields. He came in at 30%, 40% in some single entry. And my pivot that I liked was CJ Stroud. I didn't play enough CJ Stroud. I still had too much Justin Fields, and then Fields ended up getting there in the end, in garbage time, and elevated 30, 40% of the field above my CJ Stroud lineup.
Yeah, I was on the other side of that, Tambo. You guys helped me build a just Dak onslaught with Breece Hall coming back the other way. And that allowed, because that was so cheap, you mix in some Jonathan Taylor, you mix in, there was some receiver, Jamar Chase was in that lineup. It was fantastic news.
I had an okay week, but my big win, Pat, was making sure to let you guys know that the Millie Maker winner had Justin Fields, Breece Hall, and Ferguson, no Wilson. And we had a big conversation around that. So I feel like at least I won that battle, but we still got a war to fight. We got more slates ahead. I'm excited for this week. And it's a good one where it's similar to last week in a way, but we got a matchup with Dallas that people are going to be talking about. So I don't know. I'm excited to get back into this week, but last week I was happy to have that under my belt.
I feel like it would be more impactful if it was you who won the Millionaire Maker with that lineup.
Yes, it would be worth a lot more too, for sure. that would definitely be true.
All right, let's get into some injuries. Jaylen Warren is expected to be in. Antonio Gibson's done for the season. Do you guys care about these Patriots running backs? Because it feels like no matter how much run any of them get you on, they're just not good.
Yeah, we still need one or two more to go down before we get any kind of Travion Henderson. So I think for now it probably doesn't make a huge impact.
Bucky and Chuba probably both going to be out for a second consecutive week, Tambo. So fire up some Daddle. Rashad White was pretty good last week, even against who did they play last week? Seattle they played last week. Miles Sanders, not sure on him yet, which would mean, another boost for Javonte Williams should Miles Sanders end up being out. But those are the big ones at running back. Anything jump out to you there is where everyone's going to gravitate? Because I assume it's Rico Daddle again.
Yeah, Daddle Revenge is definitely going to be popular this week for sure.
I mean, it doesn't even need to be that he's in a revenge game. We talked about him at length. I think he made 9 out of the 10 lineups that I played last week, and it turned out, why would you go away from him again? Mm-hmm. He is $5,800 this week? It doesn't feel like it's enough.
I agree. I actually think that's a dynamic on this slate that's similar to last week, or almost like a mirror image, because Rashad White and Rico Dowdle are more expensive, but we need we need the salary more. So they're still not expensive enough. They're still really good values, and we need the salary if we're going to get Christian McCaffrey or Puka Nacua. Those guys are back on the main slate. So if you want to reach up to them, you still need to find some running back value. And Rashad White and Rico Dowdle are still probably the best value running backs out there.
Tambo, looking at the value running backs right now, there's 2 that really do pop out. I mean, you could say Kyron Williams at $6,300 just simply is not enough money at the moment, but Rico Dowdle and Judkins are 58 and 59. That, I can see a lot of. The moment that I opened it up, I started scrolling down to hey, who are the value running backs right now? Those 2 leapt off the page among anyone else.
Yeah, the Dowdle ones for certain. We already had a big chat around that, I think, or enough of a chat. It's not just a revenge like you mentioned, but that makes a ton of sense. I'm not sure how comfortable, we'll see how comfortable people are with Judkins outside of our bubble, what we know and think about the guy and how good he is. But I actually think there could be a scenario where it's the running back who you mentioned off the top that's now healthy and in that game going to be there in Jaylen Warren at 5,400. I think more people will be inclined to go there just on my first early look.
I would probably be I wouldn't be more comfortable doing it, but I brought up Michael Carter last week at the Stone Min. He got a ton of run. He scored a touchdown. He didn't really do anything, John, but I still like him. It was $5,300 this week. I can't, and maybe I'm dead wrong on this. Maybe they give it to him because Jonathan Gannon pushed him during the sidelines. I can't imagine they're going to be who we should use more of? DeMercado.
Yeah, that was a debacle. Particularly if you played DeMercado, or I picked him up in season-long leagues. But it is what it is. I do think Michael Carter is in play. I'm not sure that he's in that top tier. Just facing the Colts, they're 7.5-point underdogs. Could potentially have no Kyler Murray. There's a high risk of systemic failure. I think it's Jacoby Brissett that would step in. I'm not even sure.
Yeah, that is correct. It would be Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, so he's not a guy that I actually like because he's like he can run a little bit. He's potentially like he's a big quarterback, could get like the goal line work, quarterback sneak instead of like a Michael Carter run. So I'm not super high on the Arizona offense this week, presuming that Kyler Murray misses. But yeah, I think Michael Carter is in play though at a super value price.
Yeah, the Tampa receivers, as you pointed out to me before the show, looks like that Godwin's not going to play. Bucky's probably not going to play. Mike Evans probably isn't going to play for Tambo. So stacking them up could actually present like a very almost like those old Raiders type of teams or those old Broncos type of teams. It's like, well, you have Baker, you have Egbuka, and pick the other guy that you want to go with it because that's going to account for what 70% of the targets on that team.
Yeah, I also think it's funny because typically what people do, and it's changed a little bit. The guard has changed. They've been let down a little bit over the last couple of years. People getting better, recognizing this, but a lot of the time it's been like, well, they suck. They have nobody. Let's move on. It's like it's all factored in, but now you actually have a more condensed target tree. So it's like, yeah, they might suck or whatever you want to say on paper, but we care about fantasy points and finding easier ways to get them than guessing. And a lot of the cases, well, there is some guessing there. You do still have a more condensed target tree that you can play with. And we saw that Tampa Bay game last week go off. I don't see any reason why this one couldn't be part of the same thing.
The other interesting situation, John, is in that Miami game, because I do think that the Chargers passing stack, I mean, when I spit out the optimal, it gave me, we'll get to it in a minute, Quentin Johnston, it gave me Keenan Allen and Justin Herbert as a combo deal to go with it. But their run defense is piss poor. If you could figure out, or if you could figure out if the Chargers are going to commit to one of these new running backs, what do you do in one of these situations? Because there's a huge upside for either Vidal or Haskins potentially if everything swings their way. Are you willing to risk it on that, or is that a stay away for you in this situation?
Yeah, it's a stay away, to be honest. I think there's just too much uncertainty. And like, if you were the Chargers, what would you do? You're going to put the ball in the hands of Justin Herbert. I mean, you're not going to, I mean, I think, Haskins or Vidal, they're certainly going to play, but they could split work. And I think the most likely answer is neither, right? It's not choose one or the other, right? Because I think if I was the Chargers, right, like I've got Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Ladd McConkey, maybe Quentin Johnston. I think he's questionable. But like if Quentin Johnston misses, it probably hurts the Chargers offense, but it maybe helps our chances of hitting on a lineup with the Chargers offense because then we know it's like, well, it's just Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Ladd McConkey. I'm probably not going to go to like Vidal or Hawkins, Haskins,
yeah.
Hassan Haskins. Yeah, I'm probably like if I don't know them, I don't want to play them.
So what do you make of it, Tama? Because they're both $5,000 each. I guess that's sort of the sticking point. If they were $4,000, would you be more willing to take a chance?
I think it's fine if someone still wants to take a chance on like their 150 set, or I know there's the ball knowers that are like, I'm a Haskins guy. That's what it's going to be. But I will say my mind works weird in these situations. So not everyone will agree or even get with this probably. But my thinking is like, it's also the slate as a whole. And we talked about, like, there's a ton of running backs. We didn't even talk about yet, like Javonte Williams, CMC, Jonathan Taylor, Achan. There's all kinds of other running backs, the Rashad Whites, you name it. And I think of it almost like last week. We had a ton of running backs on the slate that were good options, and yet people were in the chat trying to jam Gibbs and Monty. It's like, I know they can both have a good game. I get you're saying let's just get all the running back points, but there's like 9 other running backs they're competing with, and they do eat each other's lunch. What's the chance you get this right, or even if you do, they don't eat each other's lunch? And so it's kind of like a inverse of that. And I care about the slate as a whole. And there's so many running backs on this slate that you could just play instead. So maybe like a 150 set or something like that in the big $20 milli maker, but not going to try and figure it out like John said.
So for like a 3 max, 10 max, 20 max, that sort of thing, obviously Tambo doing a show with Alex Blickel on the Ship It Nation YouTube channel on Saturday mornings. Highly recommend that you tune into that. But we're here watching, so you smash the like and sub to the channel. If you got questions, you dump them into the chat right now. We'll end up getting to them as we talk through some of these games. But you mentioned Jonathan Taylor, McCaffrey. I think you could throw Puka on that level too as the elite expensive options. But looking at some of these matchups, like Jacobs against Cincinnati, 7,300. Genty against Tennessee, 6,900. Is it imperative, do you think, that you need to have one of Taylor or McCaffrey, or is this a week to take the 2 slightly less expensive options and use Puka instead?
Yeah, I think you hit on a running back that I'm definitely interested in Jacobs. I don't have like certainty. Like I think Christian McCaffrey and Jonathan Taylor have more certainty, but they're also more expensive. And like the Jacobs is in such a good spot that I think he's definitely an alternative. And then if that helps you get up to Nakua, like I think that's definitely in play.
The way I would think about it too, Tambo, is that what we've seen from Tampa so far in each of their games is that they are a pure run or pass funnel team. Like, it's hard to run on them. They have a very good run defense, and teams just simply abandon what they're doing. And Tampa tends to push the pace a little bit as well. So passing ends up becoming more prevalent. That if there was a spot to go, like, listen, he gets a ton of receiving yards every single game anyway, but this feels like more of a McCaffrey out of the backfield catching rather than him doing anything on the ground, which he hasn't done all year anyway.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know. It's really tricky for me because Jonathan Taylor's right there, $100 more. I've liked that. And then there's so many options in the 6K range. And the bigger thing too, Pat, I think just on another note here, didn't spend a lot of time on it. You brought him up already, but like Kieran Williams at 6,300, he's a bigger conversation because of the Puka effect, right? Puka's on the slate, but he's also almost $9,000. Obviously, it's an incredible pace we're seeing out of him so far. The matchup's awesome. The Ravens defense has been horrible. I just think that's the bigger conversation because I think when people don't get to Puka, because they won't all get there or not all their lineups will, I think they're going to try and get action from Williams in that spot as well. So I think more people are going to be inclined to play like the Williams, the Dowdles, the whoever else, Javonte, like things like that is where I think people end up going. So maybe Jacobs and some of those guys you can get at a little bit of a discounted ownership.
Yeah, and you brought up Judkins a little bit earlier. It's funny that, John, you had mentioned that there's a lot of uncertainty in some of these spots. Then Tambo pointed to the Detroit backfield, like, you know, it's going to be a split while you're trying to get all of the points here. The one thing I think you can say about Judkins, like that dude gets the ball, and that's the only guy they want to give it to.
I agree. I don't know. I'm a little bit hesitant. Like, I think there's going to be a Judkins spot. I don't know that it's in Pittsburgh with a 38-point total.
Sure, but it's not like Pittsburgh's pass D much better than their run D. It's sort of like the inverse of Cleveland, whose run defense is just simply amazing. It's been the best in the league so far. And I wouldn't present the Steelers as sort of a dynamic offense. I just think that you're piling up a lot of touches in that game with Judkins. Like, if you wanted to pencil him in for more than 20 touches right now, I would sign off on that. I would say that's a very heavy favorite.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he's going to see less ownership than Rico Dowdle, right around the same price range. Dowdle's going to project so much better, but he's going to see more ownership. So I think it's a balance, and there's a back and forth you can go over the upside and the ownership. I still probably lean to like Rico Dowdle and Rachaad White, assuming that with Bucky Irving out again. So like, I prefer those guys in that price range, but so does everybody else.
So, Tambo, you always are good at this. Is this a situation where instead of going up or down, you could play both them together? Or is Judkins sort of in order for him to get there, because he doesn't do a bunch in the passing game, he kind of needs to score 2 touchdowns, that you're just better off betting him 2 touchdowns and playing him in your DraftKings lineup?
The latter. You nailed that. I was, chopping at the bit as John's saying his piece and you're saying yours. I don't disagree with either of you. I just think that's, in my opinion, again, the whole slate matters. And it's like, yes, you could just play the two of them because of the similar price. So you could try and pivot. But in reality, Pat, you could just make a ton of money on the books, laddering him up, anytime touchdown, 2 touchdowns, over on the target or over on the rush attempts, over on the yards, single game parlay. You can do all that stuff. And he could do great. And again, if he does really great, then yes, he'd be needed. But remember, he's still competing with like 9 to 10 guys on this slate. He could have he could crush your bets for you and not be strong enough to still be needed in like the winning lineup on DraftKings.
Few questions here. This one's for you, Tambo. It's from Michael. He says, nobody cares. Beat Bowser harder.
Okay. I love that nobody cares work harder, but the stuff that I've said, this, like the Marios and the thumbnails that you put up of me throughout the year, our guy, Pat of Room Memes, just absolutely crushes it. He's done a ton of work for you, a ton for me. There's a ton of these now that I just have them all saved. I show them to my wife and she just makes fun of me. So it's perfect. We love it.
I also set the date for the Mayo Media Party.
Well, let me know what it is so I can get. We want to be there for sure this year. So make it happen.
Yeah, we got to fade a snowstorm, unlike last year. We got right into the teeth of the snowstorm. It is December 13th, I believe, that Friday, 2 weeks before Christmas.
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th, and it's going to be a crazy night. I'm switching up the format of the party a little bit.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'll say, and again, it hasn't been much luck yet, so you might be in luck, but I think that's the weekend of the DraftKings Live Final. So we'll see.
If you can't make it, then I know that it's actually the 12th. It's not the 13th.
Oh, even better. So less scary, but yes, maybe a higher possibility. We'll see. But that's good, man. The Mayo Media Network party is always a good time.
Yeah, John, if you want to fly in, you're in the Boston area, right?
DC area.
DC,
so a little
okay.
bit farther.
That's going to be tougher. I know there's a direct from Boston to here. There's not from DC to here. So your connections, wintertime, not great. Question for you, though, John. Do you just keep stacking Tampa this week and continues to work out?
Keep stacking. Sorry, who?
Tampa?
Yeah, actually, I think so. I think the more injuries they have, the more consolidation, the more like certainty we have, the easier it is to stack Baker Mayfield. He actually leads all quarterbacks in FanDuel points per game. He's behind Dak Prescott in DraftKings points per game because like the difference in point value for turnovers. But yeah, I wouldn't have thought Baker Mayfield, lead, second on, and that's just amongst quarterbacks on this slate. But still, it doesn't matter who gets injured. Like they've been dealing with injuries the whole season. With Chris Godwin originally not with the team because of injury, then Mike Evans goes down. Now Godwin's out again, but Baker Mayfield just finds a way, and that way is often Emeka Egbuka. So that gives us some certainty there. But could be Kate Otten too.
Go Collect, who's always in the chat. Shout out to you. Thank you for always being in here. Tambo, this one's for you. Is this the first week we see a 2 tight end on the winning team?
I don't think so. Again, I said it last week, and tight ends, this is the prime point, though. Everyone kept saying that last week, and tight ends went off. People were literally talking about the upcoming, I think it's October 23rd or something, is National Tight End Day. And they were like, it feels like that, and still not required. Could a lineup have got there? Yes, but the optimal, the winning lineups, all that, it's always a product of the whole slate. This slate is loaded again at running back. It's kind of a more balanced slate, which outside of like Nakua and CMC, who I think people will cool off on CMC to your point of the matchup and everything there. But just to note, the balanced build will typically be where you see more of these wide receivers get there as well, because they all have ceilings. It's just some of them get worse prices because they play on shitty teams or with bad quarterbacks. So I don't know if it gets there. Great. I just don't know if it will be the week because of all the other options we have at running back and wide receiver.
Well, we'll see what the optimal spits out. I'm going to go over to 4for4.com/Mayo right now. All John's works up there as well, plus all of the tools. Code Mayo50 will get you a free week, and it will get you 50% off the monthly plan of all of the tools, all of the content. But I got to go load that in, so stick with us. We'll be back right after this. Now that I'm old, I've had to come to the fact that I just don't bounce back the way that I used to. I don't wake up in the morning feeling normal. And now that football season has started, that is absolutely unacceptable. I got work to do in the morning, and I got kids that are waking up. It's no good. But that isn't a problem anymore because I found ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol. The ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic, invented by PhD scientists to tackle the rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's a buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for the rough days after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make pre-alcohol the first drink of your night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel the best tomorrow. Go to zbiotics.com/PatMayo to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use PatMayo at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund you your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/PatMayo and use the code PatMayo at checkout for 15% off. For over a century, Johnnie Walker has shared its bold spirit with the game of golf. Now, crafted with Devereux Golf, Johnnie Walker introduces the Johnnie Walker Blue Label-inspired Sunday Golf Bag, elevating the game with sleek design, Blue Label hues, and refined gold accents. Celebrate your hole-in-one with a premium Sunday bag crafted by Devereux Golf. Submit proof of your achievement to johnniewalker.com/blue-in-1. Please drink responsibly. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Did you know that October 10th is World Mental Health Day? And this year, BetterHelp is shining the spotlight on therapists, people who truly make the world a better place. BetterHelp has quality therapists working according to a strict code of conduct and are fully licensed in the United States. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally, and it works. With an average rating of 4.9 out of 5 for live session based on over 1.7 million client reviews. This World Mental Health Day, we're celebrating the therapists who have helped millions of people take a step forward. If you're ready to find the right therapist for you, BetterHelp can help you start that journey. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/PatMayo. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/PatMayo. We have the optimal lineup all ready to go on DraftKings this week. Let's throw it up, take a look at it. We got Justin Herbert coming in at QB, Javonte and McCaffrey at running back, Waddle, Allen, and Quentin Johnston all from the same game, taking up all 3 wide receiver spots to go with the quarterback. Shout out to the optimizer for figuring that out. Browns and Njoku, tight end and defense, and then another tight end, Tambos. You said it wouldn't happen, but Jake Ferguson is in there at $5,300. So 2 Cowboys, 3 Chargers, 2 Browns right now is what we're looking at in this optimal.
Yeah, the optimal's not the optimal yet. It's the early one, so it might still not happen. That's why I'll stick with my taste. But I do like that it did our old use up all the wide receiver slots on the same game. That's the classic move that not many people can get to. So the optimizer is getting smarter.
All right. What do you make of this, John? Like, how do you think that we can start amending this to make it a bit more palatable for us?
So I like the Justin Herbert start. I would probably, a little bit nervous about Quentin Johnston. And I think we can start swapping some things around, but it's not a bad start at all. I think we can work with this.
What is the Quentin? It's the hamstring, right? Yeah, there it is. Hamstring, limited on Wednesday, limited on Thursday. So if it's not Quentin Johnston, let's say he doesn't end up playing, do you instantly move Tambo to Ladd, or do you just leave that spot empty because you have $200 to do so? It's pretty easy.
Yeah, you can just do it because obviously that would make it much better. Again, it would condense the target tree that much more. You could just swap that easily and make this work. Again, this is probably one of the more tournament style lineups that we've had built for an optimal coming in. Typically, it's just value all over the place. There's maybe a small secondary correlation of some kind, but this is pretty much fully stacked, and then you can flip it around a few different ways to make it work. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with this as it stands.
So I got rid of Ferguson in the tight end for right now because we already have Javonte Williams. We have nothing else from that game. So we could throw in Rico Dowdle to go against Javonte Williams with 2 running backs in the same game. We could figure out a different tight end. We could figure out a different defense. Where do you think that we should go from here?
I'll let John start it off.
Yeah, no, I love the Dowdle idea because I think he's still at a value price tag. We've got the revenge game narrative. I mean, he really took control of that Panthers backfield, I think, and already having Javonte Williams in there from the same game. I guess that's maybe saying 2 running backs from the same game. Maybe that game actually goes a little bit under, but I don't know that it matters. At like 6,400 for Javonte Williams and 5,800 for Rico Dowdle. I think we can play them in the same game, and then gives us enough for a defense.
Yeah, but one of them would be going against our stack, so we're probably not going to use Dolphins defense, Tambo. And then you got your Ravens and then the mighty Bengals down here as well. Should we try to find a different option for Njoku?
Yeah, I think that's definitely possible. I also think I think a lot of people are putting Dowdle and Javonte together this week, and it's obviously more than fine. We've talked about this a million times, and I'm saying that's another way you could look to change it up a little bit if you wanted to move that around, or maybe again go with our original thought of McCaffrey and say we don't need him. Let's go for a more balanced running back approach, and then we can upgrade a lot of places.
Instead of using Javonte, what if we went Dowdle and replaced Njoku with Ferguson and see what happens then?
Yeah, let's try that.
Dowdle, Ferguson. It only leaves us with 3,400 per player. Is there anyone in that low 4,000, John, upper 4,000 that you think is a viable option even as a one-off here?
Well, actually, I might go with a tournament stack. Would we do Malik Washington 3,700? And then that gives us a little bit more for defense. I know I think he had 4 receptions for 0 yards, but at least they're scheming him in, with the targets. And $3,700 is a pretty good price tag.
Well, that would leave us in the defense range with the Patriots being the most expensive option that we can use at the Saints. The Patriots, very good run defense, Tambo, not so hot against the pass, which should lead to them taking to the air more, which is what I care about. They're pretty good at getting to the passer as well. Cowboys, we're already using Cowboys. Buccaneers are in here. Jags, Seahawks. Jags and Seahawks is pretty interesting. Both defenses, like the Jags, just turning everyone over all the time. I'm kind of preferable to the Seahawks defense in this game, though.
Yeah, for that lineup, I just like the New England one just because it's going up against the Saints, regardless, like you said. And Radler could rattle off something. He might not. He might rattle off a few INTs as well. So it's like I'm fine with that spot because we're not really going there with anything else. It's got a nice stack. It's an overstack with the game, with a secondary stack with Dowdle and Ferguson. It's got McCaffrey, kind of like 3 really good bets there, if you want to call them that, is like a parlay. And it's like just the defense versus one of the worst teams in the NFL. So give it a shot. I like that lineup just as is, but obviously you need the Chargers Miami game to go your way. It's just a way to get different than that optimal though.
So, John, what would be the other options? I'm trying to find out. Like Flournoy is an option here on Dallas. That if we didn't want to use Ferguson, that I thought it was going to be Tolbert last week for sure. It turns out that it wasn't Tolbert. It was Flournoy. Like, why not go back to him with Lamb out again?
We could, if we wanted to play off McCaffrey. How about Sterling Shepard at 3,800? Is that we'd have to drop down 100 at defense.
I think we could do that. Sterling Shepard's very interesting here. Let's see, we throw him in, and then we could use the Seahawks or Jags D if we really wanted to. I mean, we could use the Cowboys, but that's probably not exactly what we're looking for in this spot. Yeah, to throw in Jags D, throw in Seahawks D. Again, I like the Seahawks D a little bit better, even as underdogs on the road right now. But yeah, I think you just flip a coin between those ones. I didn't mind the Browns defense either, Tambo.
Yeah, I guess, like I said, it's the opposite side of what most will be on the Pittsburgh side. If you like that going in there, they're 2,500. I think it's fine.
I'm just trying to find some of these like lower end options. Flournoy actually rates out as the best points per dollar guy of that, like 35 of the non-tight end division, from 35 to 4,500. Like Shaheed is still $4,600, and after that, you're really not doing much here. Like Ao Manor at 3,900, Trey Tucker at 48. Do any of those names do it for you, John?
Is it Trey Tucker?
Yeah, but he's more expensive. He's like 4,700.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
you could say it's there's probably not going to be like Juwan Johnson's probably going to be back in this game. Obviously, Kendrick Bourne went off on Thursday Night Football last week. It could be Demarcus Robinson stepping into that spot, but that's just pure speculation for the Ricky Purcell spot, who's probably not going to play.
Yeah, it's slim pickings in this price range.
Yeah, so how do you get out, Tambo? Like, what would you do roster construction-wise it sounds like we just want to avoid anything that's down in this range because there's no, like last week we had Dowdle. Like, when in doubt, play Dowdle.
Yeah, I think the bigger thing is like the CMC factor, and also that it correlates with the other big, I don't know if you want to call it like an elephant in the room, but like you're not playing any Rams here, and they have almost a 30-point team total going into Baltimore. I know it's only like 26, 27, but I'm rounding up because they're also on the road. It's all factored, but if you're not playing Puka because you're going to CMC, then fine. But like if you can get to Puka instead, or in this case, we need to save money, I think you might want to go to Williams and just remove CMC and then see what you can do with that kind of money for the last 2 spots where you still have almost $9,000 left to spend.
Trying to
take out Shepard, take out Seahawks, take out CMC, and put in Williams, for example, because Puka basically puts us in the same spot, but now you're going to get action this way. Now you have 8,900 left to spend and can do whatever you want.
So let's just say we throw in Browns D because they were the cheapest of the defense that I'd like, just to see where that gets us back up to. And it gets us back up to 64. Now we're going Dowdle and Javonte Williams again, which now we have 2 Dallas guys. You could switch it up.
You can play Rachaad White with the Bucks defense, and it fixes everything. You aren't playing CMC, and you get one of the better running backs on the slate. Like, that's what I'm saying. Now you're covering angles, and you're leveraging the fact that you moved off CMC. It's like a triple whammy, though, because you moved off CMC, which is Puka money, but you're not spending the Puka money. You're buying Kyron with it, and then you're taking the running back in the defense against the original guy you took out. That's the kind of game theory and the thought process behind it all. So that's how I would think of it.
Do you like that idea, John?
I love that idea. And actually, I even love the idea that we had before that of just looking at every roster and saying, well, do we have a Ram on here? Because they're going to score points. So we should be thinking, do we want Puka? Do we want Devontae Adams? Or do we want Kyron Williams? If we don't have any of those 3, we should realize we're really betting against the Rams offense.
So the other thing that you could potentially do here, let's see, if we take out Jalen Waddle and Jake Ferguson, for example, could we go, who is the cheaper tight? Use Waller in that spot instead to get your Dolphin on the bring back. And then you have 7,400 for a receiver. Where does that land you? That's like Egbuka, George Pickens, Devontae Adams. You could throw Adams in there, get a cheaper. I was seeing if we could get ourselves up to Puka, but we really can't.
I was seeing now. Could you remove Williams and put White up there, and then get Puka and see where you land on the flex?
So Rashad White into the running back, put Puka in at wide receivers. $8,700. 5,000 is one of those Chargers running backs. I believe it's Jawan Jennings as well.
Maybe I might use Kendrick Bourne.
Yeah,
from. Oh, I got the defense in there. I was thinking
that's
about.
all right. We can find another defense. That's not the craziest thing in the world because we just take the defense out, use White and Bourne going against each other, and use Seahawks D again.
Well, what's like a cheaper D? You said.
I think the Browns at 25 is probably my favorite of that group.
Yeah. I might go back to like Ferguson in the 2 tight end set across from Dowdle and then land on the Browns against Pittsburgh and be happy with that.
Keep adding to this, John. Like where, if we have it like this now, can we reconstruct this elsewhere? Because now we do have a bring back for Dowdle with Ferguson. We have White kind of on an island by himself, but would you rather have Bourne with going against White, or would you rather have Ferguson going against Dowdle?
Ooh, I liked our Buccaneers defense. I like the Rashad White Buccaneers defense without Darren Waller, but I think I preferred Kyron to Puka. But we're going here. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think this has got the correlation we want. I did prefer the Rashad White with Kyron Williams and the Buccaneers defense.
All right, well, let's redo that then. Let's put back in Kyron. I played that first lineup. I mean, these are all technically Herbert lineups, and I think this is probably the way that you want to play Herbert. So Kyron Williams, take Puka out. It was what, Waddle?
Or did we have the wrong K Williams? Because he's only 3K.
Who was it? Sorry,
the K Williams. I think you've got the Panther or the.
Oh yeah,
Patriots,
yeah. I probably don't want Kyle Williams in there.
Yeah.
You always got to watch out for that. So Buccaneers D, Buccaneers defense.
Yeah.
And then we had Ferguson and Waddle.
Did it fit like that though?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Isn't that the lineup we just had?
Yeah, we would just.
Gotcha. I was gonna say, like, you almost had it there. The alternative to this, then I thought that's where you were going, and I had the answer if you like it.
Okay, one sec. Let me throw that one in. Got to make room for those. Okay, now tell me.
Okay, I thought you'd already saved it because we were on. That was a nice lineup. So yeah, I was saying if you take out the Ferguson and go back to Waller, and then take out Waddle and the Bucks for a second, because the Bucks landed you with 7,400, you could actually play JSN, and there's no super correlation to this, but JSN with the Seahawks defense fits, and you actually get a good receiver versus no man's land. So go to Jackson Smith and Jigba at 76, and it leaves you like if you find the 200 to get to Bucks, I'm all for that. I love that correlation. But I'm saying this was a way where you don't land in no man's land on wide receiver, and you still liked Seattle D, so it gave you a similar build type.
I like Seattle. We still have Rashad White in this lineup, however,
which is fine.
Yeah. So you're good with our defense going against Rashad White?
The Seahawks defense is not going against Rashad White.
Oh yeah, they played last week. That's you're
absolutely
right.
But that's why a lot of this week is like last week in a way. It's very similar for another 10-game slate, but it's a different slate because there's other things going on, different factors. But yeah, that was just a way. Like I said, it's nothing to do with JSN and Seattle, but you liked Seattle, and obviously JSN is a pretty good spot every week. It seems that we can go there too.
So that's the Chargers Miami. The only other question I would have about this stack would be, we have Waller in this one. We played one with Waddle. Would you want to find a way to work Achane into this as the Dolphin, as the bringback? Or are we good?
I think we're good. I mean, I like Achane, but it's too expensive.
He broke a lot of hearts last week, though. That's the only thing you could say about him, is he definitely hurt some feelings last week, and that sometimes plays out, but you don't need him. Like we just looked at it. There's so many ways we built it that you just don't need him. So I'm sure he'll get in there when people are building out full portfolios around this game and whatnot, that, you'll get him, but I don't know if you need to build one with him right now.
Well, let's start to build out the Rams because obviously with their point total, they're going to be a very attractive option. In the chat, Go Collect asks, could we leverage Puka and Stafford and their ownership with a lineup containing two pieces of the Rams instead? Like just have Devontae and Kyron and hope it works out that way rather than Stafford and Puka.
So wait, play Stafford without Puka?
No, play Adams and Kyron instead of Puka and Stafford. Or is that just
so build out a Rams team but with a different quarterback?
Correct.
Yeah. No, I think it's definitely viable.
All right, well, let's start with Stafford, and maybe we can move off of that because that's going to be pretty expensive. If we just go Stafford and Puka. Tambo, would you throw in Adams into this? Would you throw in Kyron? Would you throw in someone else? Or are these two just because it's so expensive anyway? Is this the starting point we want?
It's only my opinion, but I think, and I showed it a couple weeks ago and it worked that way as well. But that's why I think you can play without Stafford. And I think when you do play Stafford, I actually want more with him because there's actually a lot more scenarios that Puka just crushes for his price that doesn't involve just Stafford. But when it's everyone coming together, that's where you could see Stafford really be needed and matters. So that's, if I'm going Stafford, I actually like having multiples with him, but it's DFS. Anything can happen.
So Stafford, Puka, Adams, John. That's a very expensive start.
It's an expensive start, but it's against the Ravens defense, which is still decimated. So I don't know that we need a run back. I mean, if we're going to do a run back, I'd do Zay Flowers, but that's using up all the wide receiver spots for the same game. I think it's viable, but I also think just not having a run back from the Baltimore side is also viable.
Yeah, you're the Ravens insider, Tambo. I'm good with playing no Ravens.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Lamar would have been a helpful piece for sure, but
I think we're working.
Lineup, I don't need a run back, so I would just try and start filling it out with the values and see what it looks like.
All right, so let's try to do that. Where do we want to go? We said Dowdle is probably the better value here at 5,800. We still need to. Who's the best value tight end? Was it Njoku at $3,500, or is there someone below that you think that we could go to?
I think you could just do kind of like. My thoughts is like try and convert this to the optimal and then start seeing like what the holes are and what we're missing. So I'm fine with going to Njoku. I'm fine with going back to like, if you want to put even if you want to put like Rachaad White and the Bucks D in this one, just to see what that kind of gets us. And then we can spend and move things around. It's like, what are we missing? What do we need? This is kind of the setup I'm thinking about right now.
John, how would you play it?
You were asking for a value tight end, and I was going to go to Tampa Bay with Cade Otton. We're going to have that discussion at some point. I'd also say Michael Mayer is there at 3,100 if we end up needing a few $100. But yeah, but I think I would say if we're not playing Rachaad White, we play Cade Otton, and then we keep the running back position open with White. That we could end up dropping down in price, going up in price. But if we're not playing Rachaad White, I like lineups with Cade Otton.
So let's just check in. Let's check in Michael Mayer because it doesn't seem like Brock Bowers is going to play. Michael Mayer is expected to return. That means I can't play my main man, Big Albert O again, and watch him just be targeted in the end zone and have the ball come nowhere near his head. And now we have 5,200 left for a wide receiver and a flex. Like this is where I think it gets a little bit trickier. Tambo, like how do we fill this out now? Is this where the second tight end comes into play?
Maybe for some. I mean, it just depends what you like at that price point, and I guess that's kind of where you land because it's like you could be like a Ridley McBride or something. Could be a mini like a secondary with Meyer with Ridley, and then you land on McBride or somebody else. So there's lots of ways you can flip it, but depends on where you see the other value at, and that's probably why people are bringing up the two tight ends.
Yeah, I just, as we went over it a little bit before, I just don't see a ton of value down here, John.
Well, I think we could, so if we do like Diggs and Olave in the same game, wide receivers in the same game, would have to drop down from the Bucks defense to maybe like Titans. I've got Mayer in there.
We could just use Diggs and Shaheed instead.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Shaheed, once again, proving he's the better DraftKings player.
Yeah, he got there. And then that lands exactly on the Bucks D, right?
Yeah. Don't know if I love this lineup.
What are you missing?
Good players?
Right. Fair.
I guess the opportunity. What is the we're finding out right now? What is the opportunity cost of stacking up the Rams and how pricey that's going to be with those two top end receivers? It just leaves you a little bit depleted. I feel like at the back end. But if you need them, you need them,
because
right?
the way this lineup sets up, like, what if you take Adams and Stafford out, move Diggs up, and play Drake May?
Drake May. That gets a 72 for another.
Well,
We can take Shaheed out because I feel like if we're going to do this, we don't just need to play. We could play Kyron Williams. Like we could do what Go Collect talked about earlier, play Puka and Kyron Williams together. Then we have 5,500 for a receiver if that's the way that we want to go. So you have like DK Metcalf in that game, which I actually think is a very nice matchup. Obviously, Newsome gone. The Browns not the greatest against the pass anyway. And I think if there's ever a spot to play a one-off receiver, John, DK for Pittsburgh is probably that guy.
Yeah, I mean, I like DK Metcalf is going to be like a one-off for me. This season, I don't think I'd run it back with like a Brown. I'll say that taking Shaheed out though, like May is playing the Saints, so we've got I just envision Shaheed running down the field and turning the ball back over, scoring a touchdown, turning the ball back over to the Patriots, and then Drake May leading the Patriots down the field with Diggs. And I like the idea. I think of Puka or Kyron Williams. If we're not playing a Rams stack, I don't know if we're not playing a Rams stack, do I want Puka and Kyron Williams? So I would have stuck with Shaheed and then figured out something else, other than Kyron Williams.
So I've moved this around. I still have Kyron Williams in. I did move to Shaheed Tambo, kept in both Rams, but I just moved up to Packers defense, which is the most expensive D. It's going to be hard to get to that maybe in this lineup if you need them, that maybe you just end up needing them, or we could figure out a way to play Jacobs instead.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at now. I was like, if you
just stick with the Bucks defense, I think you could take Kyron up to Jacobs, would be my guess. Kyron to where is Jacobs? Jacobs is we need to find. You can't play Bucks D. You'd have to drop to like Seahawks D, but it's $100 too much.
You need $100.
Yeah, you just go to Seahawks D if you want to, or Jags D. We used Seahawks last time. You could use Jags this time.
No, what I would do, I would just play a 2-2. I'd play Drake May, Diggs, Shaheed, and Taysom Hill.
Oh God, Taysom Hill.
I mean, he was pretty involved last week. He's 3K. Like, I don't know. This is a guy that he threw. I think he threw a pass. He rushed. That was just random, but he's capable. So I'm just saying for this lineup, I don't really care that much. I think we're a bit off the board anyway, but if you're already going to be in that game, could just go that route with it and hope that that's the case, invert it, and then you end up getting what you wanted for all the other spots.
I like this one more than the Stafford one, John. You guys just, I feel, I mean, listen, maybe I shouldn't feel that way. Maybe I should feel more uncomfortable, but I'm only playing in the 10 max or maybe a max of 20 max. I'm not playing 150. That when I took a look at that Stafford lineup, that looked like I'm trying to score 270 points here and really hope every one of the losers that I played puts up 20.
Yeah, I feel like Stafford is really good at putting up NFL points, but not as good at putting up fantasy points. Like Drake May usually adds something on the ground and can outscore a Stafford even when Stafford's putting up NFL points. The other thing with Stafford is we can do exactly what we're doing here, which is just put in Puka and get, Puka piles up the receptions and often gets the touchdowns as well. You can usually play like a Puka or Kyron and get the Rams points without having to play Stafford.
All right, let's enter this one.
I got the 4v4 real quick. If you just want to see what you guys think.
Let's hear it.
So it's Nakua, Taysom Hill, Jacobs, and the Bucks versus JSN, Ferguson, Williams, and the Seahawks.
So Kyron,
JSN, Ferguson, Williams, and the Seahawks.
Who was the tight end? Sorry,
Ferguson.
And then
Landsy. We just been saying Seahawks, whoever people want there, but I put them again. That's the alternative, and it looks better to me.
It feels a bit more solid down the board. Yeah, I agree with you. The issue is, again, like we haven't put in McCaffrey or Taylor into any of these lineups, John. That ends up becoming problematic when Jonathan Taylor scores 35 points a week.
Yeah, I'll say though, something we're dealing with, like with Puka here, we're kind of sitting here like, man, our Puka lineups don't look as good as they usually do. It's because a lot of these guys have gone up in price. Like Puka's 1,100 more than he was in week one, 1,000 more than he was just a couple weeks ago. So I think that, pricing is part of the issue. Jonathan Taylor, yeah, we'd love to get him in our lineup. He's $1,800 more than he was in week two. So, when we put like Jonathan Taylor in our lineup or something like, oh man, it doesn't look as good as it used to because we have $1,800 less to work with.
What game would you like to jump to, John? And we'll try to build that out. Is it Cleveland, Pittsburgh? Because I doubt it.
It's not Cleveland, Pittsburgh. I would absolutely go to Carolina, Dallas, and I would actually start with Bryce Young at the discount price. I think he's 4,800. That is way too cheap for a quarterback facing the Dallas defense.
So how do you put players with him? Like, I haven't seen the practice report. Obviously, we're doing this on Friday morning. We haven't seen it. Is Tet McMillan going to be back? Is Jalen Coker going to play? I think those are two things that you need to know immediately. Not Tet McMillan. Is Jatavion Sanders back? Is Jalen Coker going to play? If we know that information, I think it becomes a bit more muddy because I don't know if Bryce Young can support like more than one guy.
I'm not seeing an injury designation on Tet like for practices.
So Tet should be good.
Yeah, I'm assuming he's good to go, and that would be my number one place. Like he should be more expensive. We say, was it that at least 8 targets in every single NFL game at $6,000?
So we put Bryce with Tet Tambo. Do you throw Dowdle into this as well because he just is a value and we just overload the game?
You can. I prefer like the other side. I like the Coker thing if he plays, and I also like Williams and Ferguson on the Dallas side. So there's a few different ways you can go with it, but that's how I'd be thinking about it.
Let's see the rest of Coker here. I saw he was designated to return. I saw him practicing whether or not he's going to play. He was a full participant on Wednesday. Interesting.
Even DK knows, like he's priced at 4,200. They're not letting him come in at 3K or anything like that. Like he's set to be in there. So,
like, would you go full Tet, Coker, Young, or just Young and Coker with Ferguson and Javonte Williams? Like, how crazy would you want to get with Carolina?
I'm fine with both. I think it's like 15K for all of them. So I don't think of it like everybody else. Like, only this guy can. A few weeks ago when Geno and Trey Tucker had that big game, no one would have thought if you were putting Bowers, Myers, and Tucker up against each other that Tucker would outdo both of them by like 3x or something. Like that's the way it goes. So I like these combos and setting it up that way.
So we'll play a 3-2, John, with the running back and tight end of the opposing team on the other side with Bryce Young. How would you try to start filling out the rest of this lineup? Because we got a good value in with Jalen Coker. Obviously, the defense, if we just pick random D, just throw in a price to see what we got, we'll say Buccaneers D again. We're back up to $6,800 per player. Is this the sort of lineup where what I talked about earlier, that you can leverage like Jacobs and Genty and JSN in it?
I think so. And as soon as you put in the Bucs defense, I'm like Rachaad White. But yeah, I think this is a lineup that is basically saying, Rico Dowdle doesn't have the game that he had last week.
Not a bad bet, by the way.
Yeah,
I've seen Rico Dowdle play.
Reasonable bet. So, we go with maybe the other value running back with Rachaad White. Jacobs. Like Jacob is going to go under owned for like the Packers have the most implied points on the slate. And people are going to shy away from that game a little bit more than they would otherwise because the Packers are 15-point favorites. But how do they get up 15? And then what do they do if they're up 15, 2 touchdowns or whatever? They're going to run the ball to Jacobs. I mean, that's exactly what they do. So, exactly. We should be thinking about where is the Rams scoring coming from with every lineup. So I like putting Kyron Williams, Jacobs. I think that's a good call.
We could put Kyron Williams with Jacobs. We could just play Devontae Adams in a wide receiver spot, and that opens up 6,600. Because I do kind of want to find a way. Tennessee's defense, you can run all over them. And I get that Genty has no time to run. But if you could just figure out a way to, Saints D, sure. Let's throw them in for a second. Like you play like Genty and Saints D, Tambo.
I would have played it like, again, I like the Williams side better. I would have played it with Egbuka, Williams, and the Browns D and try and cover my angles. I'm not on White. Let me pick up that through Egbuka. They have tons of injuries there. It's like that. Someone's going to get him. He's explosive. He can be by himself. Baker's expensive. I think we're going to build Baker, Egbuka, Kate Otten stacks anyway. So it's like I could do that. And I feel pretty solid. And because you're going against Tampa already, I would just play the Browns D against Pittsburgh there for the same price.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Browns D. I thought I clicked on 49ers instead. Yeah, that probably wouldn't be a smart move.
So this lineup actually projects pretty well early on. And there's, again, we got to see if Coker's in. We got to, I mean, just all these expectations, but this makes a ton of sense. And it's some pretty good bets. Again, I like the Jacobs spot is a bit different. And you could change Igbuka and Williams around, but it gets expensive unless you just do the Adams thing. And I don't know. I always feel like if Adams has the big game, that's where you might see Stafford because it's like 2 touchdowns, 100+ yards and whatever versus Williams and Puka could kind of just get there on their own and just use them as a one-off.
I guess, John, the way that I want to play, I don't know how to do it because it's too expensive, but Jacobs with the Packers D or Taylor with the Colts D is just, it's going to load up a ton of points. But in normal weeks, I think you'd see more running backs played with their defense, but those defenses are so expensive. I think a lot of people are going to lean away from that. But if you convince yourself that these teams blow out the other team, it's sort of like playing Kyron and Rams D. Would that be another way to get different with the Rams?
You could play, yeah, absolutely. Going up against was it Cooper Rush? Yeah, I think that's viable. My mind was going exactly where you started there, saying like if we could somehow figure out a way to get up to the Packers defense, like they're going up against a quarterback that was not on the team last week. I guess he was in the States, but not on the team. So I mean, and they're just massive favorites. We're playing Jacobs. We're basically saying the Packers are getting up big, scoring touchdowns, and then eating the clock. So yeah, I think. I mean, I loved Igbuka, but we play a salary cap game, so yeah, we got to find the $1,200 somewhere. Yeah, maybe Ferguson because some tight end price cheaper than Ferguson's going to have a touchdown and a big game. So
yeah, if you just say, hey, it's going to be Waller Tambo, does that make any sense to you to do it that way, or did you like the other way that we had it more?
Man, I don't. You just made me forget now because you had something good up there. I was going to say maybe we move off Javonte and play Jacobs. Oh, I got it now. I think just 1 second. I moved Jacobs up.
Jacobs into the Williams spot.
We play Williams. No. We keep Williams. I was taking Javonte out and leaving Ferguson. And who's the other running back you guys were just? Oh, Rachaad White. If I play him, that gets me to 6,400 for a wide receiver. Does that get us anything?
Is this by taking Igbuka out?
Oh yeah, he was out already. That's what I was saying. I was going back to like Williams, Jacobs, Packers, White, and seeing what that could get me. But it doesn't look like we can quite get enough money there. So we might have to do your Waller play, Pat, and then change it up from there.
Or you can do it. You take Igbuka out and you get Tyler Warren in the Indy game. You get Javonte Williams, Josh Jacobs, and Rachaad White. You still have Packers defense, but instead of Igbuka and Ferguson, you have Adams and Warren, and you still get a Ram.
So Adams, I'm just trying to look at this one. Yeah, that might be the way. Yeah. Let's see this one. This is Javonte Williams. You've got.
I mean, if you like Taysom Hill, you'll love Tyler Warren.
Yeah. Warren's
rushing touchdowns. He's throwing passes too. It's all lining up for him in a great spot against Arizona.
Yeah, I like this build. I like the one you just put up, but we got Jacobs with the Packers. We still get the stack in there with Javonte with the 3 guys around him. You get your Buck with injuries. You get your Ram against the Ravens, and you land on Tyler Warren. Like I'm fine with that. That's a fine build for me.
Of the 3 or 4 versions that we've built with Bryce Young so far, John, what do you think of this one versus those other ones?
Yeah, I like it. I don't know how many times I'll be using Devontae Adams as my Rams one-off, but if Kyron fails and Puka fails, it's probably going to be Devontae Adams. So I like this one. We've got the correlation of Jacobs and the Packers defense. We've got Tyler Warren is one of the few tight ends I would use uncorrelated. Just because he can absolutely get there. He's looking like the rookie tight end we wanted to have. And so, yeah, and we've got the Bryce Young double stack with the Javonte Williams run back.
See, I was really feeling this lineup until you just said that out loud. The Bryce Young double stack. And I'm like, ooh, that's not good.
Facing the Cowboys defense.
Well, the Cowboys defense has been good 2 weeks and bad 3 weeks. I guess Fields got there at the end last week. And maybe that's what Bryce Young does, because Bryce Young is a huge fan of doing that. when he gets there, he's down by 20 for 3 quarters. Then it's like, all right, yeah, well, let's play some ball now.
Yeah, it's all just a terminology thing. Like I can't state it enough. Everyone, it's a Bryce Young double stack. No, it's 3 guys against a terrible defense for 15 grand. You need points. It's a block. It's a group. It's however you want to word it. People get way too caught up in it, and then they get into who are the players in the 2-man. Oh, that's the fear of everything. Like I can't do that either. It's like you just got to play the game and treat it as a block and not worry about all the other factors.
So we've gone through this a few times. I mean, Miami and Dallas have been by far the 2 worst defenses in the league so far. But the other ones that we haven't picked on yet, I guess we did build out a Drake May, so that works out. Cincinnati's defense sucks. New England's defense hasn't been very good. Tennessee's defense is awful. Baltimore we did pick on in that spot. The Raiders defense too, although I don't have a ton of interest in playing Cam Ward or any of his receivers just because I want to stay away. I hate the Titans. I hate the Titans so much, just like I hate the Cardinals. But what if it's not Jonathan Taylor and it's Daniel Jones? Would that work for you guys? Or is Daniel Jones not the Daniel Jones fantasy-wise that we remember?
I'm curious to hear where John is on this one.
On Daniel Jones?
Yeah.
No, he's definitely in my top 5 quarterbacks this week and every week. I mean, I think we've been on him since week 1, and it has worked out. And part of it is I think they're playing their 4th home game already. But yeah, I mean, this is one of the best offenses in the league. It's the 2nd most points per game in the NFL, led by Daniel Jones. And a lot of the scoring obviously is coming from Jonathan Taylor, but Taylor is really expensive, and they're still going to put up points. They're still playing at home, indoors. Yeah, I think Daniel Jones is absolutely someplace we need to look at. And if the the Cardinals are running out Jacoby Brissett out there, well, I guess there's maybe a concern because like what happened last week is Daniel Jones had a great first 3 quarters and then didn't have to do anything against the Raiders in the 4th quarter. But maybe Jacoby Brissett's able to keep it a little bit closer than Geno Smith was.
Like, would you rather build out a Daniel Jones indie side or try to figure out what to do with Baker and or Mac Jones or whoever it might be for the 49ers?
I like the Baker one more, but I think this is one of the most interesting spots if you were wanting to do your 2 tight end lineup and just go Jones, Warren, McBride, and hope that the quarterback leans on McBride, and that also instead of trying to figure out the wide receiver roulette for the Colts, you just go Jones, Warren, McBride, and then start filling it out with our values. And then you only need 2 running backs. So you may be able to fit in a couple of what we talked about and still be able to get different. You don't need Taylor because you're leveraging it. So it's not like you need that money. It's really a decision after that of where you go at running back, but you can kind of fill this out with whatever.
Is there any value of playing Taylor with Daniel Jones, John, or is it one or the other, do you think?
At Taylor's price, I think it's starting to become one or the other. I've liked Daniel Jones with Taylor so far, but we saw, I think last week that if Taylor is really paying off his price tag, he needs multiple touchdowns. So how many touchdowns are the Colts going to get? I mean, it's feasible. I wouldn't in a 150 set. I wouldn't say absolutely can't have Jonathan Taylor and Daniel Jones together. For a single entry kind of thing, I think it's probably one or the other.
Okay, so let's go. Daniel Jones, Tyler Warren, McBride. Any interest in Pittman as a throw-in in this lineup?
Maybe we land on him, but my first takeaway would be I don't think Puka gets in here easily. Your money's going to go quickly. So I think I put Williams in. And then I think because we don't really have the Carolinas, you can have the Dowdle versus Javonte thing, maybe, but if you just put White and Buccaneers like we had before, you can then say, okay, my Dowdle is going to be Tet at 6K, and you still have pretty big money left where you can kind of get different at that point, and the lineup's not that bad. It's pretty loaded for starters, and it's correlated and makes sense.
So you throw in Ted, you could throw in Coker as well, save all that money, and then get yourself back up if you wanted to.
I'm curious now what Pittman looks like, though. What does he leave us? He puts us in, I think, no man's land with 7K, right?
Yeah, it's directly at 7. Then you're on. Then you can actually throw Pickens in as
Pickens across. That's not a bad build. I mean, yeah, it's more interesting just to look at, but yeah, this is just a way to think about it.
I would throw out a suggestion that I love the idea of having Michael Pittman in there, but would I rather play Pittman at 5,400 with Daniel Jones or McBride? I don't have confidence in Jacoby Brissett throwing the ball to Trey McBride. I mean, it's possible. Maybe he locks in on him, but I would take out McBride and see what we can get.
Yeah, let's just try the triple stack, and you don't need to run it back.
Now we would have 6250 per player if we wanted to. And we open up that Rico Dowdle spot, although we already have Tet McMillan. We open up Javonte Williams if that's a route that we want to go.
Let's try that.
And that leaves us 6,100 at receiver, which is Jalen Waddle, which is fine. Like as a one-off, like it's him or Waller would be the only two. I guess Achane as well, but I think that you could probably do that. Yes, Jared.
Well, I never jump in on these shows. The first time for everything. Daniel Jones. What about Alec Pierce?
Is he back?
He's questionable, but he practiced. He had 10 points in 54% of the snaps in his last game. He's 4,800.
If Alec Pierce is active, I always just bet him over his longest reception.
What do you work in a lineup like this?
How much is he?
I think he's 4,800.
That's
44.
44. 44 is I mean, I would want to play. I feel like if I was going to play Alec Pierce, I'd want it to be like $3,300. And that's at least me, though. I mean, you guys know what you're doing better than I do.
Well, I think what you said there, right? You bet the over on the longest reception. He's a guy that either gets there or he doesn't. So maybe depending on what kind of size tournament we're entering this lineup in, like if it's a 10-person and we're trying to get first place, I don't think we need Alec Pierce. But he's a guy that gets the ball and runs a long way with it, or catches a long pass. So I'd say that if I was playing Pierce, I'd probably play him instead of Pittman and save the $1,000 and see what I could do. You know, could I upgrade Jalen Waddle then?
Trying to find like down the list, like Shaheed. I mean, Flournoy is the other one here as well. I guess we use Javonte Williams. If we take out Waddle, you could throw in Flournoy as the opposite of Tet that way, try to mine some points. And then if you really wanted to, you could play Puka in this lineup and switch out Kyron Williams, Tambo.
Could play Jonathan Taylor.
I don't know about the Flournoy thing. I think it's obviously helped a lot of people. Like it hurt a lot of people last week because it was the Tolbert versus him, and we followed him, and I played him a ton in Showdown and stuff. But is it really going to happen 2 weeks in a row where it's needed? And by the way, with price for salary and what he did last week, 21.4 on 3,100, absolutely crushed. But was it anywhere? No, because no one plays him. So are people going to play him this week? I don't think so. So I just don't know if he's necessary.
I don't know if he's necessary, but like if now we can kind of reconstruct things, like we don't have to play Pittman if we want to anymore. We could play Taylor instead of Pittman in that flex spot and still have like $5,500 left for a receiver.
Yeah, I like the previous version we had, but that's just my take.
Like you could go Taylor and then get yourself to Steph Diggs against the Saints if you wanted. Like that's an option you can go to.
I prefer to leverage Taylor here with the Jones stack, but yeah, I like the one we had previous to this. This works, but it's not, and it definitely doesn't project well either. That's for sure. But yeah, it's just one of those things.
So Pittman, who did I have in this Flournoy? Now I can't remember who I had in the Flournoy.
I think it was Waddle, right?
It was Waddle. And then Waddle gives us exactly Kyron Williams, or gives us Javonte Williams.
Javonte.
Yeah. Is that where we were at?
Like that's 3 really solid running backs. You're not playing CMC, but you're going against him with the other stuff. You've got your Ram in there. You've got a stack that since you can't play Jonathan Taylor, you're going with Pittman and Warren. And the one-off of Waddle is fine. Like he was literally in your earlier optimal. So these are the types of lineups I think that people overthink because they're like, oh, they need this crazy shot in the dark. And it's like, this lineup is not super chalky. And while there is like some guys that'll be over 10% in it and a few that are over 20, but I'm saying like you can get away with this for sure. And it's got no run back. It's just not a super common build. So I think you can do this and play just fine.
All right, let's put that one in and we'll move to Tampa and San Francisco. We've talked around this game, used the pieces from the game. I'm guessing, Tambo, that you want to go with the Baker side, not the Mac Jones side.
Oh yeah, this is John's Super Bowl right here. We're going to K. Dotton, baby. We're getting Baker, Egbuka, and K. Dotton and making it happen. And then we can decide from there what we do.
Sell me on K. Dotton, John. Is it just that he's a victim of circumstance, a benefactor of circumstance here? Because he has 10 catches all year.
Yeah, we talk about like K. Dotton. We always look at K. Dotton and we say, well, no, we need a bunch of Bucks wide receivers out before we can really think about K. Dotton, before Baker Mayfield really thinks about K. Dotton. But we're here. It's time. We have Chris Godwin out. We have Mike Evans out. Like these are the games we've seen. Like K. Dotton, he had that stretch. I think it was last season, right, where he had double-digit targets, like 8 receptions in 3 consecutive games, 3 touchdowns across the 3 games. It's when the Bucs are really low on wide receivers, and the opportunity cost at tight end is so low, and it's getting even lower, right? Like with Jacoby Brissett throwing to Trey McBride, like I'm not as comfortable going to McBride. So usually we're saying, well, it's like Trey McBride or bust, but like now we don't even know about McBride. So yeah, save the money and play the $3,400 tight end that has a history of stepping up when Tampa Bay is low on receivers.
Is this the McCaffrey lineup we finally play?
Oh yeah, it is.
So Baker, Buka, McCaffrey, and Otten, Tambo. What do we do with it now?
Save money.
Flournoy in. Or where would we save the money here?
That's the question. So I think we're going to Dowdle and Williams to see if we can even make this work.
Dowdle, Williams. Which Williams? Kyron?
Yeah.
And then 49.
I mean, we're definitely not getting to Nakua here. I can tell you that much. So we spent that money on McCaffrey, which the one thing I will take away from this is like, these are the lineups where you start to realize how people are going to build, because this is like, if it's uncomfortable to us, it's going to be uncomfortable to everyone. So I threw the Browns in, and yeah, what did you land on there? You got
it was going to be Tep, but then I have no Cowboys and I have 2 Panthers. I like Kayshon Boutte this week, by the way. He's $3,800 against New Orleans. Maybe he works better as a part of that Drake May stack that we talked about, but he has excelled this year in games where Drake May has had a cleaner pocket to throw from. When Drake May is under duress, he does not look Kayshon's way. He looks Diggs' way. He looks Hunter Henry's way. When he has a clean pocket, it's almost a 20% target share for Kayshon Boutte, whereas the Saints do not generate pressure whatsoever. Bottom 2 in the league. So if there's ever a spot to you, maybe he is like, he's better used in that Drake May lineup that we have. But if you were trying to save money and Flournoy wasn't for you, although I think he works in this lineup opposite Dowdle, if that's the way that you wanted to play it, I do like Boutte as one of those cheaper options.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know who I also like as a cheap option is Sterling Shepard. So we could do the triple stack.
Oh, here we go. The quadruple stack. We got 3 pass catchers now, but that still only gets us back up to $6,000 for a receiver, and that hasn't really been a spot where we've liked it so far, is it?
trying to see now what this gets us.
Like the only other move here is we could play Tet if we wanted to, and you turn Dowdle, because it seems like we're just kind of fading that game anyway. You turn Dowdle into like Travis Etienne.
No, not doing that.
Or Judkins, my main man.
All right, I'm doing this. What I'm doing, I'm putting in Kendrick Bourne, and then I'm putting in the Rams D with Williams going against Baltimore.
Bourne and Rams D. Okay, so just overload these 2 games.
Well, one thing I'll say again, this is the same factor as the Bryce thing before. And they literally have everybody injured. It's not a Baker with 3 receivers like people think it is, or 2 receivers and a tight end. That's factually what it is, but it's like 20 grand for the entire Tampa Bay offense at home, coming off a game where Baker's telling fans to check the scoreboard and go F themselves, basically like, we're going to crush you and watch what's happening, just balling out. And they've got like a 26-point team total going against San Francisco here. Like, I think that's how I look at it. However, anybody else, but Shepard, but Otten, is this too risky? I don't care. It's $20,000 for the entire offense in that exact scenario, basically.
And it still gets us the pieces of the games that we did want.
And there's more room to move it too. There's probably better versions of this. I'm just giving one quick example, but on the first part of playing those 4 with CMC, that takes up 5 spots, and it can definitely work this week.
Is there any tweak you would make to this, John?
Something I would keep in mind, it's a possible tweak, is that we want to keep in mind, I think Juwan Jennings is $200 cheaper than Kendrick Bourne, basically same role, or same San Francisco wide receiver slot. So limited practice yesterday, but if Juwan Jennings is good to go, I probably prefer him for $200 cheaper over Kendrick Bourne, and we can just eat the $200, or maybe we want to upgrade defense if we want to, but I like the correlation with Kyron Williams.
Well, you could go up to the Packers D if you want to have the best D on the slate. Good spot.
Yeah, you can say Kyron does all the scoring and the Packers D returns 2 touchdowns against Joe Flacco.
And you're not on Jacobs, so you're hoping that Jacobs gets crushed by the defense doing the work too, and it's not actually a correlation this week. Instead, it's the D gets in his way, and that hurts those people also. So I'm fine with that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a way that we can play that one out too. Okay. The last thing I wanted to look at was
Import it one more time.
all right. Give me the.
I
I only got two more lineups to play with here as we build the 10.
Take out what was it? Take out Jennings and go to Flournoy.
Ooh, now you're talking.
Move up Williams to Puka. I know you can't afford him. And now go play your Browns. And now you've got a McCaffrey Puka lineup that's correlated with Dowdle Flournoy on the run back, Nakua as your Ram, and you land on your D that you were fine with.
Yeah, right. John, did we win him? Well, I guess we're all going to split the $1 million now, but that's okay.
I'm just not a Flournoy believer. So, I mean, I think this lineup is okay. I prefer the other one. I do think, like, I'm not always you have to spend up for defenses guy. Like, man, the Packers are such a good spot against Joe Flacco. Like, I could actually see the Packers defense really breaking this slate. Like, exactly the way you said. Like, yeah, the Packers defense gets 2 touchdowns, and that's where the Packers scoring is coming from.
This is a question from the chat. I think this one's very interesting, and I think it changes per slate. And John, I'll start with you. FS Pulse 88 asks, is there a soft or hard limit you have for sacrificing projected points in the face of ownership?
Ooh, yeah, I'd say like a soft. Like I do think now. I think in terms of like NFL scoring, and I do the same thing for whether I'm playing like baseball DFS, NBA DFS. Like I think about like, do I really want to be 2 touchdowns off the optimal lineup? Like maybe 1 touchdown is fine, but do I want to be like 2 touchdowns off, the optimal? I get like basically take the optimal lineup and take 2 touchdowns away from it. Like the optimal lineup is probably not going to hit, but it's probably not going to be so far off, right? So yeah, I mean, I do consider like I think within a touchdown is absolutely fine, for being off like the optimal lineup. Like 2 touchdowns, I start to be like, I don't know. Like a touchdown can go either way, right? It's a game of inches. Like when you start to get like multiple touchdowns off the optimal lineup, that's where I start to say, there's probably something better I could do.
So Tambo, for you, do you think about that more and how you construct your lineup to begin with to be different, or do you take similar considerations into your process?
I definitely still consider it. It matters like way more in a sport like NBA, like you were saying, like a projection-based sport where people start way behind the optimal and then they don't late swap and they're like literally getting further away and wondering why they're not winning. But in NFL, I'm probably comfortable up. Again, I don't set a hard cap or look at this. I just think it's the way it naturally works out. But like usually 10 to 15, 12 to 15, like that's going to be fine for fantasy points off, because a lot of those lineups that are off are hoping something else flips, and it's not necessarily flipping their median projection in that, it's moving them around. So it's like for me, if I have a running back opposite of a popular running back, it's giving me points elsewhere. So it kind of is baked in, but at the same time, it's like if the game flips and they have their ceiling outcome, then it's going to be a much better lineup anyway. And I'm already leveraged up in different ways. So I do care, but it's not the difference with that, Pat. And just to answer it in a different way and a better way, I think this is why I think everybody should have an optimizer. And why people just like get so intimidated, like, oh, that's only for people that play 150 max. Like the guy building his shitter lineups, as you like to call it, is probably 30 points off more times than they know, because they have no clue what they're doing. And they're just building a lineup thinking, oh, I kind of like all these guys. If they hit together, we'll have a good day. They don't know how far off they actually are. And that's the difference, where an optimizer will keep you in check that way.
So I just redid the optimizer again. You can get a cheap one right now, 4for4.com/Mayo. You can use Mayo 50 for 50% off monthlies and a free week. At code Mayo just gets you 20% off all the annual plans, which are inherently cheaper anyway. It works out to be about the same. If you want to do that, you get the free week with the 50. The top scoring projected, I know that yours is going to be different, Tambo, when you've been putting all these in. It's around 142 points is what the optimal is saying right now.
And that's the original that you gave me?
No, this is a one with like Drake May and Steph Diggs. Like it's a different one.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I could, if you run it quick or put it up on the screen, I could just crush it out and tell you what it's at. And then we go off that idea with the other lineups already built. I mean,
let's see here. Yeah, let's do that. Throw that up right now. Should be up. It is Drake May, Javonte Williams, Rico Dowdle, Stephen Diggs, and Chris Olave. Bad idea. They should have Sheed in there. Nakua, Darren Waller, Judkins, and Titans defense.
Okay, I'm just a little behind. I got the wide receivers in. The tight end is
Waller, Judkins.
Waller, and then we put in Judkins as 59. So I got him in there. And what's the D?
Titans.
So it's just punting the defense. And so most of our lineups, I'm going to save that one in just to look. So I've built like 28 lineups randomly, just running through what we've done here today. Okay. And I think on my end, that's at like 131. And the lowest I have currently is, sorry, I think it's the lowest. I'm just double checking something. The lowest I have, Pat, is a 118 versus 131. And this tells you everything you need to know. We just said we love this lineup, but it's the Baker, Egbuka, Shepard, Jennings, Otten, and obviously there's some stuff in there with injury news and things that'll change once we get up to lock. But I'll say it like that. That's still, I think that's a fine lineup. We just talked about how we would play it. It makes sense in larger and smaller field, really, because no one in larger is going to have all the exact same combinations necessarily, and it can get there in an overstack of a game stack. But in a smaller field, you can get away if one of these guys make a mistake or don't come through. So I think it's fine, and it's 118 versus 131 is the delta.
Is that something that you'd be comfortable with, especially knowing that some of that is injury related, John?
Yeah, I mean, I think like within 2 touchdowns, you can maybe say 10%, right? 10% off the optimal. Like that's definitely plausible. You don't want to be like half the projection of the optimal lineup. Like that's unlikely to hit.
That's fair. We have one more lineup to burn here. Is there, no one's going to do, I mean, maybe everyone's doing it, and I just have a very bad read. We haven't built out a Dak one yet, but that's okay. I think there's different Drake May ones that I can go and play and move it over. Is there any value, do you think, in a Jordan Love onslaught?
It's always a hard one to get right, though. That's the problem. I think I'm much higher on the Jacobs spot this week personally, but it's
like, if this game just goes the other way. You're like, oh no, this is
that's my point. Yeah, you're right. I mean, this is the Jordan Love showcase. One of two ways, but can you get it right? Can you guess it right?
I would be even okay just saying Love and Dobbs, because I know that Dobbs is going to be their prime. If it's not Jacobs, it's Dobbs in the red zone. We've seen that every single week so far. Maybe you can mix in Golden. Maybe you mix in one of these other guys. But if you're saying that it's Dobbs who steals, I mean, it would be Kraft, I suppose.
I was just going to say, that's funny you said that, because I like, if I'm doing it, I'm just going Love, Kraft, and moving on.
I just think that Dobbs has always shown the potential with Love that he's the multiple touchdown in the receiving game guy. Even if it's only like 3 catches, it's like 3 catches for 38 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like he did like 2 weeks ago. I think the upside for him is a lot higher in that spot.
I think last week we wanted to be over the field on Justin Fields. This week, I love the idea of playing Jordan Love. We'll feel so dumb if it does go the other way. Like the Packers have the highest implied point total on the week. They're playing one of the worst defenses in the league. They're 15-point favorites. Like, yeah, we assume it's going to be Jacobs and the Packers defense. But what if it's not? It could just as easily be Jordan Love. And I would overstack it, right? Because we have question marks. Like, is it going to be this guy, that guy? Play Dobbs, Golden, Kraft. We're taking care of 3 positions. Like, if it's not Jacobs in the Packers defense and it is Jordan Love, it's probably going to multiple receivers. Like, we're getting those yards and touchdowns and the points against this terrible Bengals defense.
Yeah, I'm just going to add while you're building that is like, so if it's like a single entry or a smaller field or something like that, and you want to just get different, you could just play Love and Kraft. But like John said, and what I would definitely commit to and tell you to commit to as a person watching is, if you're playing this in your portfolio, I would get a lot more than you originally wanted, because you're going to need those combinations. Like Pat's going to pick right now who he likes or who it could be. And I like this build quite a bit for going that route, but it never goes the way we think it's going to be. So it'll be Wicks instead of Gold or something like that. And so you need to get action on this. And John plays a lot of lineups. I play a lot of lineups. When I'm going this route, we will have a ton of variations of Love stacks. And it's not like we knew exactly who it was going to be. We knew to take that position in our portfolio, and within that position, spread it out so that we get some diversification to give ourselves a chance to get lucky if he does have the day that we know he's capable of. And when he goes off, it is typically that type of day. It's like everybody's getting involved.
There, I just won $1 million. Love, Taylor, Dowdle, Dobbs, Golden, Puka, Kraft, H. Long, and Colts D.
H Long is doing a lot of heavy lifting in this lineup.
Well, I only had 26. It was between like him and Gadsden. And listen, there's no Brenton Strange. I mean, Long catches touchdowns from time to time. It's one of the higher implied totals of the game. It seems like he's going to be out there running snaps that Lawrence likes to throw to tight ends in the red zone. All you would need from him is a touchdown here.
Yeah, actually, I think you're right. I think I was writing up the Jags at some point. Maybe it was probably the last primetime game and saying like Hunter Long leads the team in receiving touchdowns, which you would not have guessed. I don't know if that's still true, but yeah, you're right. Brenton Strange out. It's actually not a bad call at all.
There we go. John signs off as the $1 million play. Fox commentator Howie Long in the flex spot, Tambo.
Yeah, I saw it. Howie Long.
Firestorm. And wasn't that his movie?
I was just trying to see what it would be if you went to Williams instead of Long.
Firestorm. It is Howie Long, the star of the 1998 action thriller Firestorm. Is Hunter Long like his son?
Maybe.
Oh man.
You figure it out, Tambo, what the better version of this is. All effort to see if that's really his dad or his son.
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to, because what's interesting is it came in close to the projection you just given on that other lineup. So that's where I was trying to be like, okay, is there a different version of this? I was just trying to think, who was, it was White with the D. That's what I was trying to find out what that would give us if we go back to our original tried, tested, and true. Oh, wow. Actually,
Okay.
That's really interesting. Let me just see this.
I mean, we probably don't need to play both Jonathan Taylor and Puka in this lineup.
Well, I changed it, and this is crazy, but it worked. But if you go with White, Dowdle, and Williams, so change those guys out. Yep, White, Dowdle, and Williams.
Yeah, and Kyron.
Yeah,
Kyron, I'm assuming, right? Not Javonte?
yeah. Sorry, I went with because of that. And then you go down to our Bucks defense.
Oh, you get Puka? Or
No,
JSN?
you get Jamar Chase on the other side of this game. $200 left, but it's just no. I mean, you could play the Patriots D instead or whatever you want to do. I'm just showing you that that's another way that you can get different with it, or you could just sub Jamar Chase back to Puka. But at least in this lineup, it would make sense because we're doing things a bit differently, and this is another way that you can build it.
John, Jamar Chase was very good to me last week.
Actually, I agree. And like, what is Joe Flacco's thought process at this point? Like, I'm going to throw the ball down the field to Jamar Chase. Why not? Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? So yeah, I love it.
All right, $1 million, Jordan Love. Let's go. Thanks, guys. It was a lot of fun.
Always is. Appreciate you.
Yeah, I need to keep it going. I got invited. It's funny because I told you I won. I did really well in the $10 last week because of that DAC lineup, and I didn't play it in the 250. I didn't play it in the 150 or the SPY. But I had a friend send me a link at the last minute. He's like, "Yeah, we got like 20 of the boys are putting together a DraftKings contest. You want to join?" So I randomly picked that lineup and beat them all by like 70 points. It was awesome.
Nice. See,
So
that's
now
the guys not using the optimizer, Pat. They're just building it by hand and just saying, I got the lineup here. It's good.
It's funny that I think of myself as such a bad player, and like versus like talking to you guys, and I am versus you guys, but I forget how much better I am than like random dude filling out a lineup.
That's why we play the game.
There it is. Like I played in that contest all last year. It's like it's $20. It's like 25 people. I think I won it 7 times with like very generic lineups.
Yeah.
So-
It's like poker back in the day, Pat, when you were probably first starting playing poker, like the same people were always winning. And you're like, how the hell are they always doing this? Is this magic? It's like, oh, they're just good at the game. They figure it out and they're getting it done. And that's the difference is everybody else wants to play the game, but probably doesn't want to put the time in or actually work on it. And obviously all this stuff helps where you're watching these shows and digging in and using the tools and going to these sites and getting set up with everything. And that's where you can find your edge and find a way to get ahead. It doesn't mean you'll win. Nobody can guarantee you that. But you definitely are putting yourself in a better position than those just sitting back on the couch on Sunday hoping to get lucky.
Which is far more people than I think that us in the space really ever acknowledge.
For sure. It's a huge number. It's think about what these contests fill up with. And then, I mean, being an owner of one of these sites and you know how some of these stuff were like, it's not like we have hundreds of thousands of users on there that are signing up. It'd be a nice world if that happened. But I'm just saying it's definitely a much smaller number and it's a more niche space than people realize for sure.
John, if you weren't trying to play for the highest money possible to try to win millions and millions of dollars, let's say you're me, and you have 100, 200 bucks a week to play. And you don't care about trying to turn that 100 into $1 million or 50,000 or something. If you just tried to pick off these like 11-person games that are in the lobby, they have like top 2 pay, that kind of thing. Like, do you think you could turn a pretty good profit doing that?
I think so. And I think that I would not take like the huge risks we sometimes talk about on this show, right?
Yeah.
Like we would not play the Hunter Long lineup, although he still does lead Jacksonville in receiving touchdowns with 2 on the season. But I would play it a little bit safer, play it a little bit closer to the highest projected lineup or a highly projected lineup, and try to land in that top 2 out of 10, like the top 20%.
All right. Well, that will do it for me. John, you're back live on Friday afternoon on the 4for4 YouTube channel. Tell everyone who is joining you on that show.
Yeah, Davis Maddock, Pat Crane, Neil Orfield for the DFS MVP podcast, the 4for4 podcast. And then, I'll have my positional picks and coming out later today. Then the, full long article tends to come out this evening. And then 10:30 on Sunday mornings, we do it in the Discord. We do like an Ask Me Anything. I'm on there with audio. People are typing questions into the chat and I answer them, making the last minute decisions. But yeah, a lot going on at 4for4, and now it's coming at a discounted price.
Yes, code Mayo 50 over 4for4. Brian M in the chat said he just signed up using code Mayo. You're a hero. I don't use that word lightly either, but you, sir, are a hero. Tambo, you're live with Blickle on Saturday morning?
Yep, Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, Ship It Nation YouTube station. Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern with Hoop, Title, and myself breaking down all of our final thoughts, all of our content up on the site, projections, ownership, partnership with SaberSim. You can check it all out. 5 days, $19. Use code SHIP19. And that gets you a chance to check out a big weekend with MMA, NASCAR, MLB playoffs, all the other sports that we've got going on top of football, college football, etc. But it's a lot of fun. Community's a good spot to be in. It pairs well with the pricing of 4for4 to just combo those 2 up and be good to go for the season.
Love it. 4for4.com/Mayo. Get your discounts over there. You can find it down in the description as well. That's the live. We are here every Friday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time. If you ever have any questions, really enjoyed the questions in the chat this week as well. Smash the like on the way out, and I will see you next time.